Democrats have their cause for 2026.
What's that?
They do. Stop tax reform.
Okay.
Yeah, because government comes first, I guess.
Priorities.
There's a full court press, though, for tax reform. Now, there's always in election years and the new legislative session and everything that goes with it, there's always a lot of nice talk from Republicans and conservatives. We're going to cut your taxes because that's what we stand for. And then they nibble around the edges. There is a full court press right now in Missouri, a very large coalition, dozens of advocacy organizations working together because they want to see the changes made in order to lighten that tax burden on all of us. Now, this is sort of being spearheaded or kind of under the umbrella of the National Taxpayers Union. We're now joined by Brandon Arnold from the National Taxpayers Union. And what's different this year, Brandon? I mean, we always, like we said, every year Republicans are always like, oh, yeah, tax reform, tax cuts. Yay for us. Look, we're talking about tax cuts. Conservatives, Republicans, the right in general in Missouri, we're saying we mean it this time. We've got to have something significant. What's different about 2026 than in the years that we've basically just heard the words?
I think, good morning, by the way, Happy New Year. I think looking around at the rest of the nation, looking what other states are doing, so many states are implementing not just tax cuts, but fundamental tax reform. And everyone is looking at states like Tennessee, like Florida, like Texas, zero income tax states, and recognizing so many of our residents from other states, particularly high tax states like Illinois, are gravitating toward those states. It's not just tax policy, but tax policy plays a huge role in attracting individuals and attracting businesses who are looking for better economic opportunities. So I think Missouri recognizes right now that standing still is falling behind. It's time to act. Tax reform is right here at the doorstep. Let's push it across the finish line and get it done.
Brandon, playing devil's advocate here, obviously the Democrats have decided that they're going to do just that and work against what should be one of those issues that everyone's on board with. Is there any credence to the argument that if we do this reform?
Well, like, for instance, is the Democratic leader, Ashley Awney. She told Fox 2 yesterday when asked about the effort to get rid of the income tax. Here's what she actually said.
We think it's a really bad idea that's going to bankrupt our state. I'm really concerned about the budget. The auditor just came out with a report that shows that general revenues going to dip below zero by 2028. And that's really concerning. That doesn't even include the governor's proposal to eliminate income taxes.
So then what's the argument against that?
Well, I think we've looked and seen what other states have done. We've seen states implement good tax reform policies, and we've seen states make mistakes. And I think the governor recognizes that. He's put forth the outlines of a plan here that implement not just tax reductions, but also smart tax reforms and smart budgetary spending changes. So we're not driving up the budget deficit. We're not increasing the burden on taxpayers and acting irresponsibly. So I think there is a path forward here, and it's easy to preach the doom and gloom, I think, that the Democratic leader is preaching. But if you look at the details of the plan as it's coming together here, I think the facts are we can do this. We can learn from North Carolina's success that implemented a series of tax triggers, cuts, as long as budget targets were met. Those triggers have taken place, have reduced the tax burden, and North Carolina is one of the fastest growing states in the country. So we can replicate that in Missouri and make Missouri one of the fastest growing states in the country as well.
So, Brandon, I'm going to guess that what we're going to hear from media here and we're going to hear from the leftist activist here, that we're not going to hear about North Carolina. We're going to hear about Kansas, saying, look what those Republicans did under then Governor Sam Brownback. They went and cut a bunch of taxes. Spending didn't get cut. The state darn near, crashed. That's what we're going to hear. And so to kind of piggyback on what Susie was just saying, what's the right answer to that? Because you've cited the example of why this can be done. They're going to cite that Kansas as an example of why it can't be done.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And if you check out the coalition letter that we put together, we have 43 conservative free market organizations, national groups based in Missouri, as well as a handful of groups from across the country. It's on our website at ntu.org and hopefully being shared widely across the state of Missouri. But we specifically recognize the fact that Kansas made a mistake. Kansas overshot the mark when it came to tax cuts. It cut too much without implementing budgetary reforms to make sure that they didn't create a budget mess. To ensure that they did end up with a budget mess. And listen, we've learned that lesson. We've learned it very, very well. I think that set tax reform back many, many years across the country. But we've learned lessons, and I think North Carolina is the direction that we need to point there. There are other examples of states that have implemented smarter tax policies, cutting taxes, putting the state on a glide path to a zero income tax without creating budgetary headaches. So that formula is out there, and don't let the doom and gloom folks tell you otherwise.
So we've touched on it a little bit, but what is the right way to do this? What are the sound mechanisms that can be employed to get us to that ultimate goal?
Yeah, so it's not just about cutting taxes, it's about reforming taxes. So putting the state on a path to get to those zero income tax is great, but also looking at the sales tax. Missouri has over 200 sales tax exemptions right now. It is an absolute mess. Tax reform is about simplification, not just cuts. So looking at ways to simplify the sales tax system, so it's a much more uniform and straightforward system. And then obviously looking at the budget side of the equation as well. It's not just about cutting taxes. It's about getting rid of unnecessary and wasteful spending in the budget. And then creating a system so you don't have the Kansas situation where you have triggers in place. You have to meet certain budget targets, certain goals in order for those lower tax rates to kick in, and they kick in over the course of several years. When you do that, you ensure you don't have those rapid revenue reductions without the accompanying budget reforms and spending reductions that are necessary to keep the budget in order. So the blueprint is out there. It's been implemented in states, and it has not only helped these states grow, it has made them true leaders on an economic basis across this country. And I think all the information is right there. Missouri just needs to grab it and run with it, as the governor is already doing.
We are visiting with Brandon Arnold from the National Taxpayers Union. Okay, I think everything you just said is 100% correct. I also think that for the average voter out there, this is really wonky and a lot of people are going to be scared by, but what's going to happen is we're not going to be able to fund emergency services. You like highways, don't you? You like police, don't you? You like this, that, and the other, don't you? That's what we're going to be hit with. How do we, in a very simple and truthful way, refute that argument? Because really what they're saying is we have to have government first thinking instead of people first thinking.
Yeah, I think the example that always stands out to me is comparing New York and Florida. New York used to be a larger state than Florida population-wise. They're still pretty close, but Florida is now bigger because they've attracted so many residents. On a per-person basis, Florida spends half of what New York spends, government spending per person. It's just astonishing. And people in Florida, guess what? They go to school. They've got roads without a ton of potholes. They've got public parks. They have all those core services, fire, police, you name it. In many cases, much better services than what New York is offering. So the notion that we simply need to spend more to get better government services, I think, is obliterated by that example here. Florida's attracting not just senior citizens who want to come and golf in their golden years. They're attracting businesses. They're attracting young families who want to tap into the educational resources of the state. So you can do things in a more efficient, more affordable manner, just as Florida has done. There's a reason why they're doing so well, and it's because of smart, efficient government policies, not just reckless spending cuts and everything. I get where the left is coming from there, but you can cut intelligently and deliver lower cost, higher quality services as Florida done at half the cost of New York.
Yeah, and that's one of the warnings that our state auditor, Scott Fitzpatrick, has put out, saying you have to cut spending and you have to do it in a smart way. We're actually going to talk to him tomorrow when Susie and I are in the Capitol doing the show, Brandon. And so talk about that last couple of minutes we've got here. Talk about that opportunity aspect of this. I mean, for me personally, I'm looking at how much I'm paying in taxes, and I don't want to pay that much in taxes. It really makes me mad that I have that much money taken from me by various levels of government. So that's the emotional reaction. From the policy side of it, what I'm hearing you say in that last answer is this also results in more being offered and a more robust economy and a more robust private sector and opportunity.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. We look at this from the individual side, which is obviously very, very important, but we look at this also through the business side. Businesses are looking to move to states that have more hospitable tax climates and more hospitable regulatory climates. So they're moving to states where there are right-to-work laws. They're moving to states with lower regulatory burdens. So we're moving to states with lower tax burdens. So it's all part of the equation there. They want to be able to operate, to compete. They're competing not just with businesses across the country. They're competing with businesses across the globe. And those higher state tax burdens are playing a meaningful role as we drive those down and helping these businesses succeed. So if you want a robust business climate in Missouri, and I know you do, then this has to be part of the equation, that reforming the tax code, making sure that their employees have a low, reasonable level of of taxation, and making sure the businesses can thrive, succeed, create jobs, and do all the things we want them to do.
All right, Brandon, let's go ahead and give out that contact information again. People want to see the post that y'all made, the op-ed on this, or just follow the work that you're doing. What's the way to do it?
Yeah, ntu.org. Our information out there, as well as on, of course, all the major social media networks. We've got the letter posted there, and we'll be spreading it around and hopefully making a trip out to Missouri or two in coming weeks.
All right, great. Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Brandon.